Well, welcome to the my session on using Google Classroom and DocentEDU. And really, we're going to be talking about how we can use all of the different Google apps that are out there, the Google apps for education with DocentEDU. But first, I think what I'm going to do is just give a quick overview of just what DocentEDU does. And so bear with me here. I'm just going to make sure that I get everything shown up. But so DocentEDU is a browser extension and mobile app. And what it lets you do is take any existing website. And so I'm going to go ahead and head over to this one of, this is one that, so I'm a high school science teacher. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Matt. I'm a high school science teacher in Minnesota, and I teach at an alternative learning center. So it's all at-risk teens. This is probably like the third school that they've gone to when they get to my school. And they've had it's for a number of different reasons. And so it can be kind of a challenging group. And so this is kind of what led myself and Karen Hogan to start DocentEDU, was when we're creating online lessons. And so this would be one article that I would use with my physics class. I have used with my physics class. And it's about Deflategate, which not all of my students and maybe not all of you know what it is. And so basically, traditionally, I would just simply assign this on Google Classroom. That would be, kind of like the easiest way. But what I've done instead is I can use DocentEDU to enhance almost any online text. So what I've done is I ended up starting it off with then a Edpuzzle. So I found a really cool video online. Obviously, it's online with Brett Favre talking about Deflategate. So I can hit play here. And I used Edpuzzle basically just to crop the video. So that we've got a little 1-minute video at the beginning here with Brett Favre talking about his thoughts on it. Not all my students know what Deflategate is. So I added in a little note explaining, hey, this is what Deflategate is. The Concord Consortium has a lot of really good simulations. They're HTML5, so they work on mobile as well. So I threw that in here because it's all about pressure, and it's whether or not the weather could have affected the size or the inflation of the football. And so then I added in a question right here. And what students will see is something very similar to this. And they'll be able to type in their questions right there. And I'm not sure if you can see on the screen, but it says saved right there down the bottom right corner of the question box. This will just all auto-save for the students. So they're used to everything auto-saving in Google Docs and all the Google apps. That's what happens with DocentEDU as well. You can add in discussion questions. So it's just kind of this like in a row display of it. We wouldn't want anything real complicated. And so students can simply type in their answer, hit post, and then it updates live to all the other students. And discussions are private within your class. So anybody outside of the class, they can't see any of these. Well, they can't see any of this stuff. And these discussions definitely would be private to the class. And then going down a little bit more, added another Edpuzzle. We're big fans of Edpuzzle. And so this one has it of where you can actually, this is one that I found that someone else had already made using a crash course video on the gas laws. And so it actually has like a little quiz embedded in it. And then they have little tiny, like all these little question marks right here are, you can put in quizzes, you can put in your own little notes in there. And so it's again, like, DocentEDU is about creating this guided learning experience with a text. That's what Edpuzzle does with videos. You can put a multiple choice. Now this is from the teacher's point of view. I'll show you later what it looks like for students, but I can then just put in as many as I want. And the way that you create a multiple choice question is just the same as if you were to go with a regular question. And you just start typing in different options there. And so going through, then, I like to end with a video a lot of times. So everybody's favorite of Bill Nye. So that is basically what DocentEDU, this is kind of like scratching the surface of what you can do. But now when it comes to Google Classroom, we'll switch over to that. And let's see. So switch to that. We'll go to the classroom. So a lot of people have been really interested about Google Classroom, and right, like it seems like it was kind of like Google designed it to make using Google Docs a breeze. You know, like creating and assigning these lessons now is extremely easy. But one of the problems that you'll run into is that, you know, right, not everything is in a Google Doc. I want to assign something else, and so, you know, Google of course already thought about that. And so to assign a docent, right? So the idea is if it's anything outside of a Google Doc, so if it's some other article that I want to assign to my students, or even with a Google Doc, you can use DocentEDU with it. You can do some really neat things. So I'm just going to real quickly go through and show you how to add in these assignments. So I put in my title and things like that, and you just simply assign it with a regular link. That's all you would do. So we are going to go ahead and create a docent that we're going to do for this one here. So I'm going to open up a new tab, and let's see. So right now, the CSOL line is a pretty big one. So this is for biology class. And so we can really, one of the things that's beautiful about DocentEDU is that there's so many different things that, yeah, I'll go with USA Today. There's so many different ways that you can approach your lessons with DocentEDU, because the text, right, with the way the text always works, is that, you know, it's your teaching style that's going to really come through of how it is that you're going to be presenting this to your students. So this is the text that I want to, yeah, I think maybe I'll use this one. Do I want to use this one? No. Yeah, all right, we'll go with this one. So to load in DocentEDU, I will click on the extension in the upper right. If you have not installed DocentEDU, actually, you know, I'll take you guys through the whole process here, right? So DocentEDU.com, get started. And so the idea here is that when you're using Google Classroom, you're going to want to assign text to some other sites other than just everybody here's a Google Doc, make your own copy and turn that in. And that's where we really shine for this. And so you're going to be signing up as a teacher. You can, whether you sign up as a teacher or student, you can always switch that, and I'll show you how that works. So I'm going to sign up as a teacher and then sign up with Google. All the sign in is with Google. Basically all schools now use that, so that's kind of what the way we have it set up. And then name of our class, biology hour 4, I'll put in, and I'll create our class. And now it's going to prompt you to install the extension. I already have mine installed. And then there it is, where, I mean, you have now signed up. Now, I had already signed up before, so this is my collection of docents that I have. That class that we created, we got a lot of classes. I've been using this for a little bit over a year when we first started up DocentEDU. And so that's my class right down there that I've created. If you ever want to go back, you want to edit one of these classes, maybe if like I misspelled chemistry, or was like, no, really, this is going to be chemistry 2. You just click on it and edit it, and then click off to the side, and now it's been renamed. For assigning to your class, you would put in this class code. If you're using a projector, click on the binoculars, and then there it is. It's nice and big, so everybody in your class can see it. You can delete the class, or you can also then view your roster of the entire class. And so going back here, I'll reload this here, and so when you click on the extension, it'll then load the docent layer for you. Also, it's got a video at the beginning. And so this is your toolbar over on the left-hand side. The icon is for assigning to your classes. You choose which class you want to assign to. The highlighting tool and this little annotation highlighting tool work together. And so for this, I'm going to highlight, let's say, conservation. Oh, I see where it starts up there. Right. So you can highlight your text within there. And then if you want to add a note, so I'll highlight that. And then I would research this and kind of maybe learn out something about it. And so I'd put it in here. So I clicked on that. I'll put in I don't think you're able to view this, but a little box popped up on my screen when I used this note tool and then clicked on an existing highlight. I'll put in the description of like what that group is. And so now when students, any highlight that has an underline on it means that there's a note attached to it. And then you can just simply click on that note and view what the highlight is. All right, and so now I'm gonna jump down here to the questions and the discussions. Discussions is a really good way I like to start off my lessons, and it works by paragraph. So just when you move the mouse over, when you have one of those tools selected, the paragraph will highlight, and just go ahead and click on that paragraph. So I'm going to just ask, like, what have they heard about this? Some of my students are really tapped into the news, and other ones may not have heard about this. All right, so let's just hear like, hey, what have you guys heard about this? And I'll click create, and there is my live discussion. So when students are on this page, if I'm in a blended lesson, they'll all kind of get to that point at the same time, typing in their answers at the same time, and it'll update live for everybody. I can always go back and edit it and then post for then sending my answer. And so going down a little bit farther, I'm going to add in a question here. And so we're gonna add a question of, I think for this one, I would take maybe kind of like the conservation side of things of, should people be hunting lions or not? Because I think that seems like it's one of the big debated things of that there are legal hunts for lions and people get concerned about the conservation. So is yeah, so I'll just say of like, $50,000. What do you think the 50? And that'll be kind of leading into our bigger discussion here. So as we're going down a little bit farther, so they have the video at the beginning, but I'm going to want kind of like other smaller ones. And so because they really talk about how Cecil is this beloved lion. And so if you head over to YouTube, I'm just going to find of and let's see. I suppose it's gonna be really tough finding like a like an actual like video of Cecil. We'll go with this one. And so I want to embed this video. I will just copy the URL and heading back here, there is now the last tool we haven't covered is the sticky note. And this is kind of your way of adding to the article. And so I'll put one right here. And for YouTube videos, I just have to paste the URL and it automatically will load that video for them. You can add in anything else you want. So I can add in my text. And anything with an embed tool you can do as well. So we were talking about like the Edpuzzles, but so thing links. And on our website on DocentEDU.com, under resources, we have a very growing list of tools that you can embed. So one of them is finding text sources can be very difficult, especially if you're making a switch to online from paper-based. There's a lot of really great free text sources out there, but it's not always easy to find, to find them. Because Google is just kind of overwhelming in terms of what you want, and the quality isn't always necessarily like at the right level for your students. But this is all the different resources. We've broken down into a couple different categories. So if there's some images I was looking to embed, so we can embed a thing link, Poplet, Glogster, Instagram, or Wordle. For videos, we've got a wide range of them. For presentations, same things like that. And so I could then embed, say, like one of my presentations that I've already created, a Google presentation on about endangered animals, and be able to embed that and kind of make that part of our lesson. And so as I'm going along, I kind of like add in more things, and now I'm ready to assign it. And so I will assign this to our biology class that we just created. And I'll go ahead and click close on that. And these last buttons down here, this will take you directly to the dashboard, or you can open a new tab and click on the extension icon to go to the dashboard. And this one down here is our feedback tool. This will send myself and our lead developer, Ben, a direct email so we can get back to you right away. So whether do you have a question on how to do something, like you forgot how you delete a highlight or something like that, or you have a really good idea of like, hey, it'd be really helpful to my students and myself if you guys added this feature, if you change this thing around, let us know in here. We love hearing from teachers. We're founded by teachers. Like we get the importance of these little tiny things for you and your students to make sure that a lesson goes smoothly. So we're all ready to go for this. And what I'm going to do is, so this docent already now shows up in my dashboard. So we'll click on here to go to our dashboard. And there's two ways that we can assign this now to my Google Classroom. So if I scroll down to the bottom, it's this one right here. And I can either right click on it and copy the link, or I can just simply copy this. So I'm going to actually go this way. If I'm just going to copy this URL. If students open a docent from the dashboard, because they also have their own dashboard, it's very similar to yours, it'll auto load this docent layer for them. But the way DocentEDU works is that we don't take the content from websites. We just simply add this layer on top of them and modify the existing page. And so it really makes it easy, really great for then making the, so you can use this authentic text and use it in the kind of the place that it is. And so like that sports article, the fact that it's on a sports website, that means a lot to the students. And so heading back here, I'm going to create a new one here. All right, so we'll create our assignment. And I'll leave our description empty there. But right here for the link, I'm going to paste in that URL. But I'm going to add at the end here of hashtag docent. And this will auto load the docent layer for my students. So when they click on that link, they'll have to install the extension also when they first sign up. But since it follows them through their Google Chrome account, the extension will just automatically load for them. And this way, it's just going to they'll just auto load docent. And let's see here. So we will, so I'll select my class. All right, so we're going to go biology 1 and assign. And so it'll show up right there. It'll tell you how many students have turned something in or not. And so for the grading, the way that that works is that it's the students then, for the assignment page, it'll then show up on here of whether or not you can then assign a grade, and students just self-mark whether or not if they have finished it. And it kind of, so it'll give you an overview. So students will go, they'll finish the docent, they'll come back and be like, yep, I'm done. And then for you, you'll then be able to do all of your grading on here. And so I'm going to switch over to another window to show you how the grading works. Let's see. Trying to think of like, where did that window go? It's always the danger of too many windows. All right, it was that one that we had with Bill Nye. All right, so I am ready to grade my assignment. So get to the dashboard, I'll open up a new tab, click the extension. And I'm going to switch over to our grade panel. And the way the grading works is you have a series of filters. So first I'm going to select the class that I want to grade. And then which lesson it is that I want to grade. So I'm going to grade that physics one that we looked at the beginning. And this is one of the really great things of DocentEDU over really, I mean, just one of the things that really makes it easy for grading is that you can grade either by question or you can grade by student. So if I really want to grade by, right, because there's certain questions that you're going to ask over. It's like if they understand that, a good chance that they understood these other concepts. And so these are kind of like the main ones. And if they didn't understand it, then we'll kind of dig down a little bit deeper in their responses to different questions. And so right here, now I see my student's name and what their answer was to all the different questions. And then for grading, I just click on that box, I put in my score for that student, and then it's done. And then if I want to grade more of a traditional view, I can then select which student it is that I want to grade for, and then it'll show me the question and then what their answer was on there. Multiple choice questions, this was from one of the multiple choice ones, it'll just auto grade for you. You know, the possible score that they can get goes down based on how many times they incorrectly answer the question. And over in our help section, then you can ask some questions right there. And we've got a few different things for helping you out if you have any questions for it. So let's see here. Now, one of the things that we can do is the Google, we're gonna go to Google Drive here. And I'm gonna show you kind of one of the things that's pretty great is that your Google Docs, right? So you're already using Google Docs if you're using Google Classroom, I'm going to assume. But this is a, I think I got this from, I really should have attributed where I got it from. I think this was from Wikipedia. And so there's gonna be a lot of times where you've created your own Google Docs, where you've modified the text, you've written up your own text, or maybe it was a science lab that you did. But I'm sure that you too, like every other teacher that's out there, have gotten to the point of where it's like, hey, okay, now I want to embed a YouTube video, and you discover that you can't. Well, at DocentEDU, you can. And so to do that, what we do is we first publish this document. So I've got this document, instead of just assigning this as I would traditionally to my students in Google Classroom of where it would make their own copy, really, I just want them to read this and then answer some questions. And so what I'm going to do is I'll do publish to web. And I'll copy this URL. So I've already published this one, and I'll copy this published link. And so this is the same document, but a published one makes it look like a website essentially. And I'll click the DocentEDU extension. And this is really great if you have students bringing their own devices. I've got a lot of students that are using Android, some of them that are using iPhones. And even though it's got a smaller screen, like students just want to use if they can use their phones for an assignment, they will prefer that 9 times out of 10 to having a larger screen on a computer, right? And so instead of like me trying to convince them, like, no, it'd be better working on a computer, let them work on their phones. And this makes it much easier because now, right, if the screen gets really tiny, then it just shrinks up with the text. And then it gets larger. And so with Docent, we actually kind of do a little bit of formatting here. And so I can now go ahead and add in my questions right here. I can add in my videos on aerodynamics right here by adding in a sticky. Crash Course always has great ones that my students like. But yeah, if you run into the problem where they're like too long, then you can use a variety of different tools that are out there for, well, this is kind of a cool one. How does the spoiler work? We're going to go with this one right here. All right, so I'm going to copy that URL and heading back to my published Google Doc. Embed it right there. And now we've embedded our YouTube video into our Google Doc. And our dream has come true. So you can embed all those different kind of things that you'd want to in there. And this really kind of changes a lot of different things of how it is that you will approach your lessons. Since I'm a science teacher, I've had a lot of fun talking with other teachers, especially chemistry teachers, because that was my background. And we've really gotten a lot into blending our science labs. And so this was a PDF that we got from a science education company, converted it into text, right? Because PDFs are horrible on mobile devices that no one wants to, like, you know, pinch and zoom on the screen. And so now it's this, you know, so now it's this text thing that's going to work out great in on phones. And so what we've done is instead of students like reading through this procedure, somebody had actually already gone through, this was a museum. They went through and like did a great video that's 3 minutes long showing the entire procedure of how to do this cloud in a bottle experiment. And then I'm able to highlight, I added a discussion question, a regular question down here to gather the students' responses. So instead of a separate worksheet that people would maybe fill out and then turn into me, they answer all the questions right there. And then since DocentEDU will collect those responses and I can now organize them by question or by student, it makes my grading much easier. And I can just assign this now as well. So if I want to, I'll just copy that and I can head back over to Google Classroom and assign that link. And so now it's the same thing of now I've blended my science lab as a really intuitive process. And for my students, they never have to leave the screen for any of the instructions that they need or their responses or the questions for collecting data. They can do it all in one spot. That's just all chronological. I was talking to one science teacher of where she was going to embed a lot of different mini instructional videos within the actual lab. And then she walks around the classroom. So instead of her standing up in front of the room for a day explaining how you set up all the equipment, she's going to just simply spend a little bit of time, the week before recording short videos explaining these different parts, assembling the equipment, and then embed those. And of course, since she likely uses that equipment for other lessons, those videos are ready to go. She'll just embed those videos for other labs as well. And her life has now become very simple. And a much nicer process for the students because they can watch the video. And if they didn't get something in here, they can always rewind the video and start over from the part that they missed without having to raise their hand and have everybody wait and and hear that they didn't get it. All right, so I'm going to show you how it looks for a student's perspective. All right, so we're going to switch over to my example student. All right, so here it is. All right. So I'm a student. I've already installed the extension. If I haven't, I just go to DocentEDU.com and click on student. I would sign up as a student. Let's see here. And I can walk through the process, right? So I click sign up as a student. I will sign up with Google. Now, so our extension is available for Firefox and for Chrome. If your school doesn't have Google Chrome installed for all the students, then you need to try and convince them that they should, because it makes my life as a teacher so much easier because it'll automatically sync up the students' browsing history, all their bookmarks, all that stuff, all their saved passwords. So they just sign into the computer, they sign into Chrome, and then that will instantly sync up their entire browser. Everything about all of their online activity, it syncs up, including which extensions they have installed. It makes it's like logging into a computer when you sign into Chrome. It's great. Right, so they already have a Google account, so let's click sign up with Google. They're going to enter in their class code if they have one. Now, I've already enrolled into a class, so I'm going to click not now, but this would be a time of where in Google Classroom, you would want to say, here's the class code, enter that. It's this 4-character code, or have it, posted someplace in the room if you're going to have them all sign up at the same time. And then they will install the extension. And there it is. All right, so here's my big list of docents, and I can mark some of them as done. And I'm going to go down to so I'll go to this one. So this is that physics one that we were just looking at. So this is our lab one. As you'll notice, when I clicked on the link from there, from the dashboard, it auto-loaded in the docent layer, and that's just because it has this hashtag DocentEDU at the top. And so it loads in. And so for students, the highlights they look green, and so the green ones tell you that it is the teacher's highlights, not yours. So I can type in my response here. And I'll post it, and it'll show up right there. And then I can put in my responses here. what did this color show up? I'll put in orange, and you'll see a little spinning icon. It went away. Now it's auto-saved, and so it'll show up now for me as the teacher. All right, and so over here, students have their own toolbar, and this is their own annotation tools. And so as I'm going through, I can then highlight different things that are important to me. And so my highlights will show up as yellow. So mine referring to myself as a student. I can add in my own notes to highlights as well, and I can add in my own stickies too. And so from here, I can add my own little notes. I can embed different things that I want to, and students can also share docents with other students. And so for my responses, these things have all been auto-saved and will go to the teacher. And so I can go back to our dashboard now. And say, yep, I'm done with that one. And then going back up, I can always enroll in other classes. It shows me who my instructor is. I can click on the plus to enroll into a new class. And then I can go over to grades, and I can see what my score was for these different ones now. I have not answered a lot of questions on my demo student account here. And then also then the help section. And so for me as a student, then Google Classroom, the way that I'm going to be doing this is I'll go to Google Classroom as a student, and I don't have one set up that way since it kind of goes through my school account. So you have to imagine with me. But I would then go to Google Classroom as I would with all my other stuff, right? Because that's where I'm finding all my lessons. And then I just see that I have an assignment that's a link. And I'll click on that link. They'll take me to the reading. It'll take me to, say it would be something like this, or here I can show you of our literature.org. So like I was saying before, is an English language arts teacher. She just switched from high school to middle school. And so this is of where she took this free text on literature.org. So it was Dracula, this is chapter 2. And so Karen has embedded then a Quizlet for it. So this is, again, this is from the student view. And so Karen's added in some different notes for me. Karen's really good with front loading the vocabulary. And so I can click on these things and sort of like get like, okay, like what these different things mean, and get the definitions for them. And I can, yeah, we'll start over here. And I click on it. Right, so I quick get my vocab. Karen already had a lot of presentations set up from when it was kind of like from the teacher-centered parts. And so she's got these haiku decks. And just right, a presentation is a very nice, simple way. And Haiku Deck does a great job of having them look beautiful and keeping them very simple. It's like it's part of their design is you can't have a lot of text, and you got to have these really nice images that go along with it. They make it easy. And so as I'm going through, I'm going to get those different things. I've got my question here. I can watch this video then on Gothic literature. And I've got my discussions that are kind of, kind of scattered throughout there. And so for me as a student, right, before I start posting to a video or before I start posting to a discussion, I'm going to want to make sure that I read this text. And again, if I, happen to really want to use this on my phone, and so it's really narrow, this is still going to be showing up for me. It's maybe not the ideal, but I'm using my mobile device, and so I'm able to kind of see like what these things look like on mobile. And so if that's something that's, being able to use my phone in class is a really big deal to me, it's possible to do that. And all right, so I'm going to finish up here by going over, I'm going to switch out of here. And we'll head back to Google Classroom. This is one of the other docents that I created before for my environmental science class. And so it was about the Asian carp threat to the Great Lakes. So DocentEDU, it's not just for science, and it's not just for the different subject areas that are out there. Or, you know, it's not just for English, it's not just for science. It's going to work for any subject area. And there's a lot of options out there for accessibility of being able to add in audio recordings for your students so that they can have a better understanding of how these different things work. You can add in your animated GIFs, but it's about bringing that text to life and creating this learning experience for your students. And when you're ready to assign it, it's just as simple as assigning a link to your students. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to just send us an email, send us a tweet. We're very active on Twitter, and we love video chatting with students or with teachers and setting up like personal training sessions that they have, or if they have different questions, as well as just hearing from people. We've got our iOS and Android apps are finishing up testing right now. Those will be out before the start of the school year in September. And so feel free to just shoot us any questions that you have or thoughts. And do check out our TAC. Let's see here. So the TAC is one of the other really cool tools. So TAC you can actually embed into your lessons, but you can see here. I think, yeah, so I'm just going to do. You can embed TACs, but you can also docent attack itself. So I created this 6 ways to rock Google Classroom with DocentEDU. And so number 1, add videos to your Google Docs. And so this I could embed, but I could actually docent this, so I could embed questions in here. Some people have made some really cool tags of different subjects, just kind of like making it something other than just this big reading thing. And so TAC makes it easy to kind of make these poster type things. But so take a look at these videos. We've got a lot of other tutorials on YouTube, but there's a lot of options for using DocentEDU with your Google Docs. And one that I totally forgot was share links to your docents. And it's just very simple. On the dashboard, click that little share link, and then we'll just tweet it. There we go. And then it'll just tweet that out to everybody with the right hashtags, and that lets other teachers view your docent. None of the student data, all the student data is private and removed. But if you're then working with other teachers, you can share that link with them, and they can now view that docent and copy it and use it with their students. So thank you very much. This was how to rock Google Classroom with DocentEDU. And feel free to email me with any questions, matt@docentedu.com.